Are you ready for some climate change ready trees here in Texas? I bet you are. And we're joined today by Tim Capehart, who's a horticultural consultant here in Austin, and is going to be guiding us through a bunch of really cool new introductions, as well as some underused natives that people should be aware of. So Tim, it's great to see you back on the show.
Hey, Tom, great to be back. Thanks for having me.
And we're going to be starting off by talking about one of my favorite plant families. It's the viburnums. And you have a new cultivar that's a cross between my all-time favorite native, rusty blackhaw viburnum, and Walter's viburnum, which is a really tough plant from the southeast United States. Tell me a little bit more about this plant.
Yeah, Lord Byron. Lord Byron was found as a chance seedling by Paul Cox, who was a longtime driving force at the San Antonio Botanical Gardens. They had Walter's viburnum, which looks kind of like Yaupon holly, if you will, and it's evergreen.
Slightly larger leaf.
Slightly little larger leaf. Wants to be more shrub-like, and Paul noticed a chance seedling that looked a little different, plucked it up, and turns out it was a hybrid between your and my favorite, rusty blackhaw, and Walter's viburnum.
And the characteristics of this plant, it's dense and low and shrubby.
Low and shrubby, you probably expect something in the 6, 8, 10-foot range. You know, you could probably tree it up if it was out in the lawn and you mowed around it.
Sure.
And it's evergreen, so it keeps that characteristic of Walter's, and it gives you the foliage that's more reminiscent of rusty blackhaw.
Right, great screening plant.
It would be a fantastic screening plant, great in sun or shade, just like rusty blackhaw.
Okay, so cold tolerant, sun or shade.
Sun or shade, absolutely cold tolerant. Been in the ground in various places for, about the last 10 years, and perfectly evergreen at Stephen F. Austin University, evergreen in Boerne, Texas.
Yeah, I noticed rusty blackhaws, even though they're native, do like an occasional watering in the summertime, even though they're well established. How about this cultivar?
Well, you know, I'm of the adage, Tom, that of course, you know, we're always wanting to water new plantings, at least that first year if we can. And then I'd like to throw a hose on things or run a little irrigation in August, you know, get by with a couple additional summer waterings.
Yeah.
I think that just keeps the plants a little happier.
Right, right. Well, speaking of happy, you brought a beautiful specimen of rusty blackhaw, which is a deciduous plant with incredible fall color.
Yeah, it does tend to get a really nice maroon to plum coloration to the foliage.
Right.
I love the real rufous colored buds, and they'll start to swell very early on. And, you know, very common, as you know, for rusty blackhaw to bloom before it leaves out or in conjunction with it leafing out.
Very showy bloom.
Very showy.
Yeah.
Looks great on the edge of things, looks great as an understory.
Yeah, just a great plant to mix into your, you know, your native plant palette. You brought along a Bauhinia that is a very shrubby looking plant. Tell me about this Bauhinia. Is it cold tolerant here in Austin?
This one's Bauhinia mexicana, and they are cold tolerant. I like to tell people, treat this one more like you would a herbaceous perennial,
like
if you
Turk's
will.
cap or something like
Yeah, it's gonna die down to the ground when it hits 15, 20 degrees. Once acclimated though, comes back, strong grower, get 4, 5, 6 feet of growth or more of it every year.
Yeah.
Sort of blooming now. The Bauhinias are all great pollinator plants. Butterflies, hummingbirds. Right. Just love the Mexican orchid tree.
Well, you brought one of your, another orchid tree, which we all know is native to Texas, the Anacacho orchid, and I love this plant too.
Native to Texas, and just again, another great small, statured, 12, 15 feet tall, multi-trunked, orchid-like blooms, hummingbirds, butterflies. Works in filtered shade, works in, you know, a high understory, works in full sun, works in rocky soils. You know, do give it good drainage, and waterlogged soils could be an issue.
East of the interstate, plant it high and give it a lot of drainage.
That's right, and with these orchid trees and a couple of the other things we're talking about today, Austin is probably your northern limit for a lot of these, unless they're planted in a microclimate.
You brought some cool maples to talk about as well. The first of those is one from East Texas called the Weitches.
It is a red maple from the Weitches outcrop, which is an ironstone, a very fossil-laden ironstone, and when that breaks down, it forms alkaline soils. So this particular red maple was selected because it was growing in those alkaline soils, and has proven to do quite well in the Austin, San Antonio, Boerne area. Smaller in stature than the normal species, which quite often can get 50, 60 feet or more. This stays 30, 40 feet.
Good size for city lots.
Good size for city lots. Very interesting. Blooms very early, usually in February. Crimson red blooms, followed by red new growth.
Yeah.
And real beautiful wine-colored fall color.
Well, right next to it we have a Mexican species, a Mexican cloud forest maple. I love the sound of that.
It's an amazing tree, or Scotch maple as we like to call it. Amazingly adaptable, and it is a sugar maple. The original plant, one of the original plants, was planted on the Stephen F. Austin campus in 1993. It's now about 50 feet tall.
Whoa.
18-inch trunk on it. Colors up beautifully. So Dr. Creech is working on selecting and continuing to improve some of these plants. Want people to understand that some of them aren't necessarily readily available in the nursery trade. These are all plants of promise that show a great deal, and so we're working on finding the best specimens for the landscape, and then working on bringing up production of these particular trees. But if somebody wants an interesting tree, this is one for you. And the hybrid vigor is just amazing. I say hybrid vigor, but you know, 9 years, and we're looking at a 30-foot tall tree in Boerne.
Awesome. Awesome. I want to talk about the Mexican olive, because this is a plant a lot of people love but have been frustrated with, because I think perhaps because they're not planting it with adequate drainage.
I think so, and again, as we were just talking about, Tom, I mean, this is one you typically find a little further south, San Antonio and down into the South Texas brush country.
Which we're quickly becoming more southern by the year.
More southern, yes, sir. So yes, this is one that in heavier soils you are going to want to plant higher, give it good drainage. In exceptionally bad winters, you could expect a little bit of branched dieback. Another fabulous hummingbird and butterfly plant.
Yeah.
I like with age, it gets very corky bark and then very sinuous.
Yeah.
Can be kept as a shrub as well. But, you know, as a tree, you can expect 12 feet, 15 feet.
Great for pollinators. Butterflies love it. I want to talk about golden lead ball tree, because this is one that is tough as nails and underused.
Tough as nails, underused. Fabulous golden balls in the spring and summer. Very lacy texture. Usually multi-trunked.
Right.
You can expect 20 feet. Where it's found native is in very rocky, well-drained areas. So again, another one that's going to need some drainage if you're in
clay.
But has done quite well for us.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the plants that you've brought are plants that maybe in the past we could not have used, but today we can, because it's gotten so much warmer. And really, I think this is an interesting tactic to start using when selecting plants. Look to plants that are well adapted for hotter conditions, and maybe be also prepared for that swing cycle in terms of moisture.
Yes, precisely. I mean, in my work, Tom, you know, I love the natives, and I'm constantly looking for improved selections or maybe different color forms. But we're also really looking outside our geographical area, and it could be outside of the U.S. for things that are working for the shifts that we're seeing.
Right. Well, Tim, it's always a pleasure to visit with you. Terrific plants. Thanks for helping bringing them to Texas and to the market. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. Look forward to it.
Okay, and coming up next is Daphne.